Vagabond and friends, welcome to another episode of the Lord of the Wrongs podcast, the only Tolkien podcast the professor himself would dismiss as juvenile and crass. My name is Dan Zerby.
And I'm Sean Kelly.
And together we'll be discussing the writings, adaptation, news, games, anything else regarding J.R.R. Tolkien's Legendarium in a way that he wouldn't like. Today we're going to be talking about the Bene Gesserit.
What deep?
What deep?
Yeah, I actually would love to talk about Dune. But that's not what this podcast is for.
It's not, but I mean, maybe at one point we'll do an episode on Dune. Dune 2 just came out when, by the time this was recorded, Sean and I have already seen Dune. It's only been out for a week, but it was really great if you're into that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think the movies are a broader appeal than the books because
definitely
they're a little less insane.
Yeah, well, I said to you the other day, I just started actually reading Dune for the first time, and if I had not seen like the David Lynch film and the sci-fi miniseries and these two newest Dune adaptations, like I would not enjoy reading this at all. Yeah, I would be so lost and frustrated immediately.
Yeah, it's a little confusing, the book the first time, but past the first book it gets unhinged. But
yeah, so I hear.
Yeah, anyway.
But yeah, we're not here to talk about Dune today.
Yeah, we're talking about Lord of the Rings.
We're talking about Lord of the Rings. Specifically, we're talking about Rohan, about the Rohirrim. The horse lords.
The horse dudes. And
the horse ladies. Dudes and dudettes, yes.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess while we're talking about movie adaptations, there's an upcoming adaptation for not Lord of the Rings, I guess, but for Rohan.
Yeah, and it's in the appendices of the Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah.
The War of the Rohirrim is coming out at the end of the year.
I believe the tentative release date is December 13th, but that can always change. But it's in post-production, and it basically tells the story of how Helm's Deep got its name, effectively.
Helm Hammerhand.
We don't have
guy.
Oh yeah, pretty badass. Besides, like we're not going to read the entire. Just go into your untouched copy of Lord of the Rings. Go to the end at the at the appendices, and you'll see you'll see what this movie's going to be about. But we know that the great Brian Cox is voicing Helm Hammerhand. You may know him as the police chief in Super Troopers, as well as the first person to play Hannibal Lecter in a film, as well as he's in, what's that show, Succession?
Oh yeah, wait, he played Hannibal Lecter
in 1981 or 83's Manhunter. Yeah, he was the first person to play Hannibal Lecter in the film. It was basically a Red Dragon.
Oh, okay.
It was the first. Yeah, it was an adaptation of Red Dragon before Silence of the Lambs ever came out. Pretty neat.
Huh.
Anyway.
That's fun.
Yeah, kind of neat. That's still not what we're talking about. But he's voicing Helm Hammerhand, the namesake of Helm's Deep, and Miranda Otto is reprising her role as Éowyn, and she's the narrator.
I was gonna say, because unless they're flashing back and forth through time,
I think she's just doing the whole oral tradition of the Rohirrim sort of storytelling.
Cool.
I would expect that's how they're framing it. So
I hope they give her another song, because that was like hauntingly beautiful.
Oh my god! So if you guys have not seen the extended edition, Two Towers, for Theodred's funeral, Miranda Otto sings this old English song, and it's fucking stunning. I mean, it's such a shame it didn't make the theatrical cut, because her acting and singing in it is fucking incredible. It's so good.
Yeah,
I get chills thinking about that scene.
Yeah, it like elevates her performance as a whole, but we still got to see it at the end of the day.
Yeah, pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, so before we get into the history of the Rohirrim and all that,
Yeah.
I came up with a new bit, Zerb.
Oh, really? I didn't know anything about this. Do tell.
Yeah, I gave you sort of a preview hint here, but I came up with a sort of a quiz for you.
Okay.
And I've dubbed it the monikers of men, epithets of elves, and nicknames for the rest. It's
I
it's
love it.
it's a little wordy, but
Yeah, but everything we do on this podcast is a little wordy.
yeah.
So,
So basically, everybody, like all sorts of characters have a bunch of different nicknames in the Legendarium, and
sure do.
I want to see if how well you remember those.
Great.
So let me start off with an easy one.
Thanks.
Fangorn.
I don't even know if it's a nickname. I feel like the real the name I'm going to give is actually the nickname, but it's Treebeard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm not doing the ding 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 this time.
That's all right.
Yeah, it's a different.
I mean, I'm
different
disappointed. Yeah, I'm disappointed, but I understand.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everybody knows him as Treebeard, but Fangorn is his actual name, really. So it's less.
Well,
of
his
the
actual
nickname.
name is in Entish, and no one has time to listen to all that. So,
yeah, I guess that is another nickname.
yeah.
But yeah, so let's get into the slightly harder ones.
Super.
Yeah, next up we've got Ednu.
Shit.
Ednu.
Ednu. Jesus.
Yeah, I'll give you a hint. This was an epithet, so it's an addendum to the name.
Shit. I really don't know. Can I get one more hint? What
more hint?
What race at least?
I'll give you this. It's Old English.
Okay. So Ednu, that means it's gonna be a Rohirric person.
Uh-huh. Think so. It's in Old English, and well, just give us a guess.
I'm gonna guess that it's Thingel, the father of Theoden.
Close. It is Theoden.
Ah, shit. So
Theoden Ednu. Ednu means the renewed in. So that's
right.
He got that
himself,
after
gets himself
breaking free of Saruman's influence. Yeah.
Right. Well,
all right. So one and one.
One and one. It's not great for a host of a Tolkien podcast.
No, it's okay. These are going to be difficult.
Great. Thank you, sir. May I have another? Let's do it.
It's just me trying to embarrass you, basically. You should come up with one of these to embarrass me in turn.
I will have my revenge.
So next up, we've got Telcontar.
Oh, damn it. See, this is more frustrating because I actually know that word, and now I'm even going to have a harder time thinking of it.
Yeah. Telcontar. So, another hint. This one's in Quenya.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of guessed that was... I knew that was definitely a Quenya or...
And I'll give you a further hint for this one. It's the Quenya version of this person's like another nickname of this person.
Yeah. Okay. It's Aragorn, son of Arathorn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ding ding ding. Right. You earned it on that one.
Yeah.
Telcontar is Strider in Quenya.
Right. Yeah. He's got so many names.
Yeah.
Well, we should do an episode on just Aragorn's nicknames.
Well, yeah, actually, I think if we do an Aragorn episode, we could just base it on his nicknames and just
like each chapter is
yeah. That he gets a new one every time something happens to him, basically.
Yeah, that's true. It's like, oh look, a life event. Better get another. Better have another name.
The only person more more into the nicknames for everything that happens to them is Turin.
Yeah.
Who just every time something happens to him, he comes up with a new.
Oh, you mean Nathan the Wronged?
Yeah, or I mean Turambar itself is a nickname. All right, so we've got I got one more.
Okay.
It's Latspell.
Lothspell.
Latspell.
Lothspell?
Lath.
Loth. Okay.
Latspell.
Lothspell. Well, it sounds like Old English, but I don't know that it is.
I will confirm it is Old English. But it's a little tricky.
I
would say with
I'm
this
seeing the
just,
name, like I know it's in Rohan, but I don't know who it's referring to.
I
just can't remember.
I would just go with your gut based on the word.
Well, it's Gandalf then, isn't it?
Yeah.
What is? Yeah, can you elaborate on that one?
That one is was given to him by Grima.
Son of a
calling
bitch!
Him ill news.
News. Okay, yeah, Stormcrow.
They call him Stormcrow and Greyheim, I believe is
Gandalf Greyheim.
Which all basically are like.
I think that's like Grey Mantle, right? Is what that means.
Yeah,
like cloaked in grayness. Yeah, which I think works still as the Stormcrow type of thing too.
Yeah,
even though it matches the Grey Wanderer, it might be more.
Like those
more insulting than that.
Yeah, they kind of all are saying like, yeah, you're like a bringer of bad omens and whatnot. That's like kind of every name for him from them.
And to be fair, most of the time when Gandalf shows up, unless you're a hobbit, if Gandalf shows up, some shit's probably going down. There's nothing great happening. Yeah, there's nothing good happening if Gandalf shows up.
Yeah, but
even if you are hobbits, much of the time it's like, okay, I'm gonna fuck up your shit here.
Yeah, I mean, to paraphrase him though, if he shows up and gives you bad news, at least he's showing up and telling you.
I mean,
at least they know now. He's not being helpful, but it's also like,
oh
fuck, Gandalf's here again.
Like, I see somebody with a pointy hat riding up the hill. This cannot be good news.
Yeah, this one had well. But yeah,
on his back. Like, shit again.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean,
yeah.
Thanks for telling us, I guess.
Yeah. I guess we should get into the history of Rohan here, right?
Right? Yeah, but that was the first edition of that.
Yeah. So we're gonna. Yeah. So welcome to our episode about Rohan. Rohan is a Gondor word for horse land, and Rittermark is what it is in the language of the Rohirrim.
Yeah,
which is Old English.
Old English, yeah.
Old English, Anglo-Saxon, yeah.
Tolkien just loved Old English.
Yeah. I mean, he was a professor of it. It was a good chunk of his job as an Oxford professor. So,
and he also just really liked the sound of the language. It's a beautiful and weird language.
Yeah, it is really cool. I'm going to do a unsolicited plug here. We're not getting paid for this, but there's a book out called The Old English Word Hoard, and it's freaking awesome. It's really cool. I have a copy of the book. There's also an Instagram. If you're on Instagram, I think it's just Old English Word Hoard. You should be able to find it. And
does it help with pronunciation?
Yes. Hell yes, it does.
That's
also
good.
there's an app as well that I have on and it has like an Old English word of the day, and cool. it comes with a phonetic spelling, and also it has a recording. It'll tell you how it's pronounced.
All right. Well, that's helpful because that is one of the difficult parts of that interesting language.
Yeah, it's I mean, well, there's characters that we don't use anymore in modern English, so that
Yeah,
makes
like in the AE and everything.
yeah, and that like P that's like halfway down the stick
Yeah.
of the character. But anyway,
Anyway,
back into Rohan. So we're not going to go into the entire history of the Northmen because it's it would just be too much. We're talking about Rohan here, so we're going to start. These were the Northmen of Rovanion, the land east of the Misty Mountains, which includes Mirkwood and east of Mirkwood, and the Aetheod.
Yeah, near the
Is what
Anduin as well.
Yes, right. I was going to say they lived in the vales of the Anduin, of the river Anduin. They are related to the Beornings, the woodmen and Beorn's actual descendants, and the men of Dale as well that we met in the Hobbit.
So these are all sort of areas that
right,
the dwarves pass through in the Hobbit.
Right. Yes. So before they're known as the Rohirrim, they're known as the Aetheod, which means horse land, although it does refer to the people as well. The people and their land is called the Aetheod.
That is such a cool word.
I know. I like so many of these words are so freaking cool.
That word almost makes me think that Tolkien started with the word and then just expounded off of that.
I don't think you might be right because it's so beautiful. It's so nice to say. Old English is really cool. So anyway, by the third age of the world, whatever. Yeah, they were great riders and breeders of horses. There was none better in Middle Earth that were better horsemen. Imagine like the Mongols or like the Comanche, like in terms of skill on horseback.
Yeah, plus they also had sort of horse gods to ride, so even better than that.
Well, yeah, right. Which brings me to the next point. So this is this little story kind of is the beginning of the Rohirrim, basically. So in Third Age 2501, the chieftain of the Aetheod, Leod, finds and captures a wild white foal, which grows to a huge size and remains wild, like it can't be tamed. So when Leod eventually tries to mount the stallion, he is thrown, he cracks his head on a rock, and he dies, ironically, despite the fact that he starred in 4 Superman movies. Sorry, is that too soon? Yeah, for you kids out there, that was a joke at the expense of the late Christopher, what's his name? Who played Superman?
Lloyd?
No, Christopher Lloyd. Oh my God! I make a joke about the guy breaking his neck and on a horse, and I can't even remember his freaking name.
Reeve.
Christopher Reeves. Thank you. Yeah, he played Superman. Anyway, well, that was a big that was a big whiff. Everyone knows the joke.
You got 90% of the way there.
I mean, it's
gonna get it over the finish line. But
a joke is good. Yeah, a joke's good when you explain it. That's
and can't explain it.
Yeah, and do a piss poor job of explaining it. Anyway. So
what does his son do?
Yeah, so Leod, he dies, and his son, Eorl, or Eorl, I think is probably Eorl, right. Yeah, Eorl. Yeah, I think Eorl is right.
It's Earl with an O, so it's Eorl.
Eorl, yeah. So at age 16, he takes the chieftainship, and that's why he's called Eorl the Young. That's his nickname.
Yeah.
And so he's determined to find the stallion that killed his father. So eventually he does find the horse. But instead of turning him into glue, he commands the horse to relinquish his freedom in payment for killing his father.
Yeah, he demands a weregild of this horse.
Yeah, weregild is what a cool word. I believe that's also an Old English word. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's like it's a man price basically
Yeah,
for
yeah,
if
yeah. The
somebody's
price of
killed.
the price of a life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. So, being descended from the horses of Valinor, this horse understood and agreed, and I don't know if they shook hands on it exactly because horses don't have hands.
I don't know. Maybe he counted to like
Yeah. Either way,
just
Eorl
infinity
is
for the
able
rest
to
of his life.
ride him. Yeah, he's able to ride him, but only Eorl. No one else. No one else can get on the back of this horse, which is given the name Felaroth, which means very.
Calenardhon.
Yeah, Felaroth, which means very strong. Which makes sense.
Yeah, that's it sounds much cooler in
Yeah,
in Old English.
Felaroth sounds really cool. It's like, what does that mean? It's very strong.
Yeah, I'm just good.
I'm a strong boy.
It does sound very strong. Does sound like a name for like a racehorse though, because a lot of them have
Right?
stupid names.
Yeah. Like, it's very strong. Followed up by heavy-footed. Followed up by light-footed. Followed up by, yeah, I don't know why that horse race was being called in the 20s. That voice.
It's if you're going to announce something, you might as well.
Yeah. All right. So shortly after this, in 2509, which is only 8 years after Leod captures this white foal, Eorl the Young receives a summons from Cirion, the steward of Gondor, begging for help from Gondor's old allies because they've always been friends, but there was never like an official alliance. But the Eotheod and the Gondorians always had like
they got along.
Yeah, and they always got along. They had an informal kind of alliance.
I mean, enemy of my enemy as well.
Yeah, for sure. Because earlier in the first and second ages, the Eotheod were just. I mean, there's not much to say about them anyway. But they were mostly just scrapping with Easterlings.
Yeah. Yeah. So they were sort of holding off the Easterlings from the north of Gondor just by being there. So I think that sort of
they just being where
friendship.
Living in Rovanion, they got invaded often by
Wain Riders.
Yeah, the Wain Riders is what they're also really badass name. So anyway, Cirion is steward of Gondor, is begging for help because there was a large army of Easterlings that had invaded Calenardhon, which is the plains between Gondor and Rovanion, which end up becoming Rohan. But we'll get there in a minute.
Yeah.
And Eorl, despite being very young, I think he also had a nickname, the Wise, because he knew that if Gondor were to fall, the Eotheod would likely follow. I mean, because the men of Gondor, they're descendants of Numenor. I mean, they're all like 8 feet tall. Like listen,
if they get killed and destroyed, like what chance do regular men have?
Yeah, it's like it's not going to work out too good for us. So Eorl agrees to help out Gondor in this invasion. So he gathers all the men he can, which is about 7,000, which is not a small number, but
especially considering they're all on horseback.
I don't think they're all on horseback, but most of them are mounted, I believe, though. Yeah, I mean,
in Tolkien, a man on a horse is worth about 50 orcs. So,
yeah, I mean, in general, mounted fighters, you can just kind of plow through people. I mean, it really is. So he actually leaves his lands kind of vulnerable to attack by getting as many of these men, and they ride south to come to Gondor's aid. So as they ride there, a mist from Lothlorien actually shields the riders from view and gave them new heart and uplifted spirits, because it's a long ride, from where they are.
That's a couple 100 miles. Yeah,
it's a long ride. So and And this happened, by the way, it came from Lothlorien, meaning it was the magic of Galadriel, which is kind of surprising given how terrified the Eotheod and the Rohirrim were of of elves in general. Like
I think
they were
that
very
just
scared.
comes from them sort of forgetting their history. You
Yeah,
know,
well, they didn't write anything down. We'll get to this a little bit
yeah,
more in the culture part, but
yeah, oral traditions. So they kind of just
yeah,
forgot. Like I think they just understood that it was a land of sorcery, but they,
yeah,
like when would they have seen them and
yeah.
within those hundreds of years. But anyway,
But anyway, still pretty cool of Galadriel to
yeah,
help out in her way. So so yeah, they surprised the Easterlings and a force of orcs that had come to fight and smashes through the enemy ranks, driving them into the river. So they're able to come in and kick everybody's ass, much like they would later in the Third Age during the Battle of Pelennor Fields.
yeah. And
Yeah,
there
they
were
really
a
come
few
in and save the day,
times.
like at the last goddamn second.
Yeah.
Like their timing is nothing if not timely.
Dramatic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they yeah, I mean that's not the first or the last uh time that
Oh yeah.
they end up helping, fight the forces of evil. They aren't really listed specifically, but over the years their alliance they end up coming to Gondor's aid a lot.
They do.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, how is that relationship cemented?
Well, I'm glad you asked because that's the next part of my notes.
I figured.
Yeah. So so the Eotheod come down, kick some ass, drive the Easterlings and the orcs into the River Anduin, and Kirion gives Eorl Calenardhon as a gift in return for a formal alliance. So yeah, they get all this beautiful, perfect land for horses, all these plains, and then there's the
Yeah,
Oath of Eorl, which promised friendship and aid to Gondor forever. And
yeah,
yeah,
it's a pretty good relationship, I'd say. So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
is it west of Isengard or
It is east of Isengard.
I thought they had some parts of either way. That basically they got everything except
Well,
for
yeah,
Isengard,
yeah.
which
So
remained a Numenorian fort.
yeah, exactly. It's kind of like the border, the western border of like Rohan's lands, uh, which, as we know later, becomes taken over by Saruman, that miserable prick. Uh, but anyway, yeah,
Well, nobody was using it.
yeah, that's how Eorl becomes the first king of Rohan, and the people become known as the Eorlingas.
Jorlingas. Yeah. It's,
Yeah,
another from Eotheod to Erlingas to Rohirrim.
yeah,
It's all pretty sweet old English names for this group of
yeah.
people.
It's really cool. Yeah, it's almost a shame they didn't write anything down, but they like to make carvings and make pictures and sing songs, so that's how they preserve their history. But yeah,
Yeah, so I mean they pretty much I mean I would assume they also are kind of another breadbasket for Gondor, but obviously Tolkien doesn't really
yeah.
get into that nitty gritty with things.
Yeah, I mean they do. They are also they're not they don't only the Rohirrim don't only breed horses. They're farmers as well as, all culture, all of these peoples would have to farm
Yeah,
to survive. So or
yeah, but
homestead if in the case of like the Beornings and stuff like that. But yeah.
yeah, and yeah, I mean they pretty much just have had Gondor's back. I mean that's what the beacons of Amardine are for.
Yeah, and in the films, Gandalf has to secretly light the beacons with Pippin, but in the book, Denethor's no fool, and there's no doubt as to whether or not the Rohirrim would come. Not really. Like he has some doubts because he's falling into despair.
It's more the timeliness of when they would
exactly.
come.
It was not so much whether they would come; it was if they were going to show up on time. But yeah, in the books, before, I mean, I think when Gandalf is taking Pippin to Minas Tirith, I think they see the beacons are lit, and that's when he explains it. I think.
Yeah,
Right in the book.
and and the fiefdoms of Gondor show up first because
right, yeah, because they're closer.
It's a little easier.
yeah. All right. So before we get into the culture and stuff of Rohan, did we have another?
Yeah. So choo choo. It's time for adaptation station.
All right, chugga chugga.
So yeah, there. I yeah. So we, besides the War of the Rohirrim, I think another solid spin-off for the for Rohan and the Horse Lords would be Step Up 2, the Meras. I think like a dressage movie, basically.
Right. Yeah. That's yeah. So for those of you who don't know, the Meras are the like legendary breed of horses.
That the Rohirrim ride, and
descended from Fëlorth, the horse that kills Leod.
Yeah, and so I think just a sort of a movie centered around horse dancing would be pretty fun in especially with the sort of somber tone of the of the Rohirrim.
Yeah. Oh man.
I don't know what, like, would it be them? I think they'd have like a horse dancing competition. Like they're sort of like preparing for finals, and the finals are like them going up against the Nazgul.
Oh god. Yeah. Do you think the Nazgul would like be very good at dressage?
I think they would.
Maybe. I mean, they do have a lot of control over those horses.
But like, so
from the Rohirrim.
Yeah, and that's why they have a rivalry, because they stole.
Yeah, right. Of course. Yeah, and they stole their horses and their routine.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, but
it's Bring It On. I get it. Okay.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, the Rohirrim come out on top because they have like a loving sort of relation. Like I think they all have to like improvise.
Oh, right.
And instead of like dominating their beasts, they have a sort of like respectful, mutual, loving relationship with the horses, and that's what helps them come out on top.
That's what pulls it out, the win at the end. Yeah, and then they win the championship.
Yeah, and then and then they just, I don't know, kill a bunch of orcs or something.
Yep, and that's when the spears and the bows come out.
Yeah, so yeah, that would be really good, I think. Not ridiculous at all.
I agree. Just like I would love to see that dressage horse dancing film.
So besides dressage, what else is the culture of the Rohirrim steeped in?
Yeah, well, like you said, it's mostly horses.
Yeah, mostly horses and dressage. Yeah.
Yeah. So the people, much like the Northmen in actual European history, these people tend to be tall, blonde, and blue-eyed. The men are thick, and the women are very pretty.
Straw heads, the lot.
Yep. Yeah. Light hair, light eyes, probably sunburn fairly easily. They have their own language, as we discussed. It's effectively Old English / Saxon. But they do not write. They don't write. They have an oral tradition, as we mentioned earlier, and they pass history through their songs, through singing.
Yeah, it's interesting because they are they're a good juxtaposition for Gondor near them, because Gondor is so advanced. It's basically like the Romans working with the Anglo-Saxons who at the time were less advanced, but obviously
Yeah.
still, well, they were able to beat them there and everything. So
Yeah.
they're still a very functional
Yeah.
civilization.
The Germanic tribes really did eventually take care of of Rome, didn't they?
Yeah,
Like,
I
oh
mean, there
shit, we
are
can have
other.
Goths. Oh no, then
Yeah.
there's Visigoths. There's all these Goths around. Fuck. Or Mamma
Yeah,
Mia, as the Romans might have said.
I'm sure that's what they were saying when the Mongols were burning their eastern borders.
Mamma Mia.
Mamma mia, I
Um,
can't catch these horses.
anyway,
Yeah.
so
So,
the
so
Rohirrim
that's
were
yeah,
uh,
well that's kind of why I was saying he it seems like he based this culture off of Eotheod because the Anglo-Saxons were not they did not use horses
no,
in
they were not
warfare like at
horse
all.
riders. They were heavily inspired. The Rohirrim were heavily inspired by these Germanic invaders and conquerors of England in the 5th century. But yeah, like their appearance, their language, their use of shield walls are all had in common. But yeah, the husbandry of horses, the Anglo-Saxon did not. They were on foot, which is the horse. Actually, where the horse aspect of this was likely inspired by the Ostrogoths, another Germanic tribe that dominated Eastern Europe during the late Romans. But the Normans were also great horsemen, which is the main reason they won the Battle of Hastings.
Yeah, I mean, eventually they all
Eventually, yeah.
became, great horsemen, but their culture
Yeah.
is based on earlier
Yeah.
Anglo-Saxons. So
Yes, exactly.
it's sort of a what if the Anglo-Saxons were
Right.
actually
Yeah, and then
great horsemen.
the Normans probably wouldn't have been able to take over England. Yeah, and they might have even held off the Romans, but
And
they
then we
didn't.
wouldn't have a
So
bunch
there
of
it
friggin' French kings.
is. Yeah. So back to the Rohirrim, like they're like a lot of noble or ennobled men. They were brave, loyal. They were very strong-willed and fierce in their independence, which is why they never like submitted to, or that's why they had an alliance with Gondor and not
They were never a fief
yeah,
of
they were never a
Gondor. They
fief of
were,
Gondor. They were their
they were
own
allies.
separate kingdom. Yeah, but they were allies. But they Gondor, they would have known how stubborn that the
Yeah, so
that these Aerlingus were. So
European comes, it's like, yeah, don't even try.
yeah,
You're
like
just gonna have a
the
bad
best we
time.
can do is make friends. Yeah, let's make friends. So in terms of their religion, like most cultures in Middle Earth, they were aware of Eru from their ancient dealings with the elves. And as mentioned, they grew to fear them until after the War of the Ring, when it was really too late, because then all the elves left for Valinor. But they did particularly honor Orome, the hunter.
Which they were
Makes
riding
sense.
descendants of his horse. So.
Right, yeah, exactly. So in terms of how they lived, there's mostly lived in villages on the plains of Rohan. There were very few cities. Edoras is one of the few exceptions, the notable exception.
Yeah, and
Uh,
Edoras is
Edoras.
more like a town, at least the way I visualize it.
Yeah, I mean, it has it has the hall of
It's like a long house, effectively.
yeah,
Of
it's
the
like
Jarl.
the Golden Mead Hall, yeah. Of
So it's like a Viking city,
yeah,
basically. Which
yeah,
it's
it's a
not
city
gonna
on
be.
a hill. Yeah,
Yeah, it's not going to be a bunch of stone and grandeur. It's
yeah. There's a lot of carven wood and thatched roofs, that sort of thing.
yeah. I mean, they weren't defending in sieges. They were fighting out on the plains if they could.
Yeah,
So
right, exactly. Uh, but for the few sieges that they had, they went to Helm's Deep to do so. And if you've even seen the Two Towers, you know then what we're talking about when we say Helm's Deep. Although it's actually mostly referred to in Lord of the Rings as the Hornburg,
yeah, which I
which is
still
the
always
Rohirrim word for
use.
it.
The Hornburg is the keep, right?
No, the it's the fortress as a whole is the Hornburg.
Yeah, yeah. Or
Yeah.
yes, it's the whole fortress, and
Yeah.
then um the entire pass what is the entire pass called before it's Helm's Deep? I don't remember if it has like a. It probably does, but it's
yeah, I
confusing. One
don't.
of these days, we'll kick that ring down the river if we ever talk about like Helm's Deep or something, because
Yeah,
it is confusing. There are like four different names for that encompass different areas
yeah. So
of the valley, basically.
true, yeah. But to keep it simple, Helm's Deep is like the Western S, like the common tongue way of saying it, and the Hornburg is what they call the Rohirrim call. That's the Rohirric word is Hornburg.
Yeah.
Much like they call Gondor. Oh Christ! I just had it in my head. Now it's gone. Mundberg, excuse me. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
Mundberg. They call which I think means White City, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. What's that first city that's on the way to Minas Tirith? Do you remember? That they pass by when they're going to help out. Sorry, I'm hitting you with a quiz right now.
It's all right. It's all right. That's a good question. I'm opening up my map of of the area.
Yeah, it's was it Amundin? I think it was. Know. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Either way, yeah, Gondor. I mean, besides the Hornburg and Isengard, it's like pretty much entirely undeveloped in that.
It's like I said. Yeah, there's really no. There's not. There's few cities. It's it's mostly villages on the plains.
Yeah, so I mean,
which makes sense because horses need a lot of room.
Yeah,
and a lot of grass. Yeah.
Yeah, and they never really picked up the. I think part of the pride of the Rohirrim was in not adopting the Gondorian culture as well. So
yeah, I mean, like
they were going to start building like them, and
they had their own. Them. Yeah, they had their own culture and lifestyle and way of doing their thing. So.
Yeah, whereas the fiefs, I think, were all sort of integrated with lesser men and Númenóreans.
Yeah, like Dol Amroth and yeah.
So
another example.
I mean, you got.
I'm trying to remember some of the other fiefdoms of Gondor.
Pelargir.
There you go.
So that's Losternack. You've got
Lebanon,
Blackroot Vale.
Yeah,
all those fun little areas down there, all totally irrelevant, but
not super important.
Anyway, is that all you wanted to talk about?
That's pretty much what I had. I mean, we could. We could always talk for probably hours, but who wants to hear that shit?
Yeah, I mean, you've seen a lot of the relevant stuff that happens in the entire second book, or like the middle two books are
right. Yeah,
or what is it? Is it book 3? Yeah, that's about.
Book 3 and 4, yeah.
Yeah, 4 is about like Sam and Frodo, but
Sam and Frodo
talk about it somewhat. But book 3 is like entirely about Rohan. So
which by the way is why Tolkien did not want to split the Lord of the Rings into 3 volumes, because it's 6 books, right? And each of the 3 volumes contains 2 books, but he didn't really want to do that because books, like we just said, book 3 is all about, the 3 hunters and pretty, like, Rohan. Separate, really. And then, in book 4 is all about Sam and Frodo. They don't go together, really.
Yeah. So
he just thought it was weird. He didn't want to do it, but.
Yeah, I think Jackson did a good job of sort of interlacing the stories as they happen, though. So.
Yeah,
it worked
definitely.
out.
Yeah,
So,
definitely had to add a few things there because in a certain way, I think of the 3 volumes, I think the Two Towers is probably the
second
shortest.
is the shortest, probably. I mean, maybe the first one would have been shortest if it weren't for the Council of Elrond. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Yeah, that's a
yeah.
long
So,
chapter. And the
yeah.
Tom Bombadil chapters that don't really have too much to do with the rest of the story. But
Before we go,
before we go.
I just wanted to shout out our fake sponsor for the you know we haven't even mentioned it this season, so I do want to I just want to sort of revisit the whole imminent domain thing where Lord of the Rings is going into the public domain in the beginning of 2049. So this is why we're sort of
Mark it on your calendars, guys.
proposing all these ideas. Yeah, just we're all waiting with bated breath
Yeah,
in order to cash in.
that's right.
So when that time comes, I hope I lined up a sponsor, Budweiser. Ooh, yeah. So while we're on
Nice.
the topic of
Isn't like an
the
ice
horse
cold
lords,
grog.
well, yeah. While we're on the topic of horse lords, I propose we have an ad for Budweiser in there.
Yeah,
that does not involve Clydesdales.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, I figured in the scene of when they're all drinking in Edoras, I think
yeah, in the extended edition.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
they're all just crushing cans of Budweiser, and somebody's just like, you know what, Budweiser, it's not the same without your buds.
Yeah, I like it.
And then it does end up cutting to a Clydesdale outside that is like drinking a beer.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, just for the fan service of it, but
naturally,
it's not Clydesdale centric.
No, I like it. And if Budweiser doesn't want to, we can always Rolling Rock is our second choice.
Yeah, really. I mean, it could be really any beer at that point.
I mean, I guess we could. That's true. I was just thinking,
yeah, Budweiser. They don't have. Yeah. They don't have a copyright on Clydesdales, so
that's true. That's true.
Clydesdale can drink any beer he wants.
That's right.
All right. So, with that, I guess this episode, I'm the Lord of the Wrongs, huh?
True, but I just remembered that I did not do my correction corner at the top of the show, did I?
Oh yeah, we didn't. Oh, well, all right. Well then,
I'm even naughtier than I thought I was. Ugh.
Wow, yeah, I didn't even realize you've been doing this entire episode from the Dunce Corner.
Yeah, I didn't even know. That's how dumb I am.
On. Yeah, I didn't even. You didn't have your webcam on. I would have told you.
Sorry, I'm such a stupid idiot.
All right, stupid idiot. What did you say last time?
God, I don't remember. Who can tell? No, well, in our Petrin Schwab remembers. Anyway, sorry. In our last episode, I made the claim that Finrod Felagund's serenading men as their introduction to the world of elves was inspired by a moment in World War I where there's a fella, if you will, in Tolkien's outfit or unit or whatever that actually stopped the Battle of the Somme by playing a harp. Yeah, it was like a Christmas truce sort of thing, except it was just some guy doing a really good job of playing the harp.
Yeah. So
that's what I said.
That wasn't true, huh?
I mean, I don't know that much about World War I history, maybe more than the average person, but does it say that never happened anywhere?
I mean, I think somebody would have said that it did happen. It seems like a significant thing to.
I mean, I guess.
Just own up to
Anyway,
it, sir.
fine. I'm just wrong and stupid.
No, you don't have to be stupid, but you are wrong.
So
speaking of being
I
wrong,
apologize to our listeners for doing this entire episode from the Duns Corner without saying anything about it.
yeah.
I apologize.
Right.
Sean, do you want to try to redeem our show from the foolishness by giving us a brand new Tolkien fact?
Yeah. So, when we were saying that the Rohirrim were based on the Anglo-Saxons, it actually Tolkien notably based the Rohirrim off of horse girls. So,
you know what? That does make more sense, actually.
Yeah, he was. I think he went on a date with a horse girl once, and he realized it's like a 50-50 shot whether they're like crazy or cool. And he was like,
attest to that fact. Actually,
he was like, you know what? I'm gonna make an entire sort of kingdom that is crazy and cool. So yeah, he made them sing when they go into battle, and I don't know, have blonde hair and just sort of generally be pretty rad.
Yeah.
So that's that. Thank you for correcting at the end, because it did give me time to
research to do research. Yeah, to do research.
Yeah,
for our 100% real fact.
Yeah, so you're welcome.
Yeah.
All right, where can the people find us, Zerby?
Well, the people can find us on Instagram. Our handle on Instagram is at Lord of the Wrongs Podcast, and you can also write us an email expressing your displeasure, pleasure, praise, questions, sponsorship opportunities. I don't know. Just say something. Just write us an email.
A cool article you saw in
New
York Times or something.
Just tell us your favorite thing in the Legendarium. Just whatever. And either way, the email. I was gonna forget to say the actual email address. It's Lord of the Wrongs Podcast at gmail.com.
There you go, nailed it.
Yeah.
All right. With that, shall we say Namarie?
Yes, we shall. Namarie, friends. Join us next time. Bye.
Wait.